I've got to change that.
It's trippier when you're backstage waiting than it would be probably if you're watching the show. It's Monday night, which means
an earworm or anything that gets stuck in your head the more you hear it.
we're dreaming of it tonight. It's Monday night. That means it's time for another episode of Recent Reads, the ComX show where we talk about books that we've read. So we've got a good panel tonight. So joining me, as always, is Sis. We've got Kyla Ralph over in the top corner.
Hello.
We've got the one and only Shannon Browning.
Nice.
And Nathan Judd.
I don't get anything. I don't get anything special. One and only.
I haven't thought of one yet.
Right.
I haven't thought of one that's appropriate.
Yeah, okay. We'll keep thinking on that. Yeah, take time.
Yeah. We'll get there.
I had one, but it's a PG show, so you know.
Yeah, I think I've heard that one before. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, we're still...
You're the one presenting us with all these restrictions. I got hours of material I just can't use on any of these shows.
Yeah,
don't worry, we'll get the After Dark shows going.
After Dark is coming.
Still not settled. But it's
greetings
been...
to Lee and greetings to Dave, by the way.
This past week, we came to the end of spooky season. So I've been watching a lot of spooky movies. So I kind of want to know, did you guys do anything for Halloween? Did you watch all those spooky movies over the spooky movie period? How did you guys celebrate the month of October?
I'll go first. I think I was working, to be honest. I think I worked all day and into the night. I think I even did an all-nighter. So.
Oh, wow. So
yeah.
Did you at least have your own side stash of candy to get you through?
I wish. I think I had a V and lots of coffee. That was about it.
That's adult candy, I guess.
Adult candy, yes. This is true. Coffee is adult candy.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I worked and took some sweets and brownies and stuff into work for everyone.
Nice.
And lit a few candles
so
on Day of the Dead. Pretty much my Halloween-y Day of the Dead thing.
Wonderful.
Shannon.
I went trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
Cool.
At least someone did.
Oh, yeah.
I am 50 years old. I had never been trick-or-treating. And I've lived in this house, in this neighborhood for a couple of years now, and some of my neighbors have met me. So I got costumed up, and because I thought, all right, no one's probably going to have any chocolates, and I don't really eat chocolate anyway, I bought a bucket full of chocolate, and I actually gave it away to the people who opened their door for me, of which there weren't many. So, yeah, I did that, and I cannot put into words how stupidly excited I was to be doing that. After about the seventh or eighth, there's someone home but they're not answering the door, it kind of killed the enthusiasm a little bit, but I was still happy I did it. And then my girlfriend and I watched her favorite Halloween movie, which ironically is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Wow. The one that's standalone, it's disconnected from the franchise.
That's the one, yeah. That's her favorite. I even went and bought a new Blu-ray copy of it with a bunch of special features, especially for Halloween.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's her favorite. That's one of my favorites as well. But it's a really good film that just got slagged off because it was called Halloween 3.
When I hear it's sort of renowned for its soundtrack as well, there's a lot of people who say that the Halloween 3 score and soundtrack and stuff like that is phenomenal.
The score is great, yeah. I mean, it's still got that creepy sort of vibe, that John Carpenter, early 80s synthesizer sort of sound to it. The one thing that would put people off is the commercial theme that's played all throughout the movie. That's done to the theme of London Bridge Has Fallen Down. Where it's just constantly, there's 6 more days to Halloween, 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 6 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. And they play that again and again.
That's
and
choice.
It's so much fun to get to sleep later on and just hearing dun, 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 dun.
Nightmare experience.
But But yeah, I
Yeah.
had fun with Halloween.
Nathan, did you get up to much?
I was like kind of Kylie. I was working, and then I just came home and I've just been drawing. So I'm glad to not be drawing right now.
Well, you're super deep into volume 2 right now. Is that correct? Like the pencils are done?
Super deep. So, well, yeah, 17th page of inks at the moment. So I'm super
Well done.
deep. That's a nice way of
Wonderful.
putting it.
Is that what you've done, or is that what you've got left?
No, that's what I've done. So yeah, the
How
hard
much
part's
left?
done. But then I got 2 covers to ink as well. So if I
And
count
cover.
that, then I've still got more. But yeah.
But you're kind of on the home stretch in the way that like
Yeah.
you've done
Yeah.
a bulk of like the second lot of heavy lifting. So
Yeah. So all the major work's done. Yeah. So it's actually I'm pretty happy with the progress I have made. But yeah, I'll be happier once I'm at that 20. Once I've only got the covers left, then I'll be like, okay, I'm just going to enjoy these. I'm not trying to worry about the speed element. Yeah.
nice.
So yeah, it's good.
That's a pretty chill way to bring about, the spooky season, the end of the spooky season. I actually watched a movie that I'd been meaning to watch for a long time. I missed it when it was in the theaters, but I really enjoyed it. Late Night with the Devil,
Oh,
Oh,
starring David Melchian. It was really good. Like, lo-fi, sort of mostly single location, phenomenal cast, interesting premise. Like, so you come into David S. Melchian. He gets to do a lot more. So we mostly know him as like the weird guy, right? Like he's played psychopath weirdos in like Prisoners, and he was in The Dark Knight, etc.
he was a polka dot man.
He was Polka Dot Man as well. Yeah, that's right. But he gets like so much more to work with. That's not just working within the exterior. Like he sort of plays people who are like on the outer fringe, or like they're really traumatized individuals. I mean, the character he plays in this kind of is, but at the same time, he's got a career on television. He's got his own late night show. He's sort of in the era of Johnny Carson. The peak of late night television. And he has a mentalist come on, a skeptic come on, and then a woman with a young girl who claims to be possessed by quite a malicious demon. And it's sort of, as the show goes on, it all sort of unfolds from there. But it was really well crafted. Like, I'm not entirely convinced that I like the ending. Like, it's fine. It doesn't spoil the movie. Like, it's that kind of lo-fi, a little bit art house, but not quite sort of low-budget horror movie.
Yeah.
But because they've gone single location, they've been able to make it look really nice. It's like really well styled. The sets are really good. The color grading on the film's excellent. But yeah, I recommend checking that out if anyone's interested. I think it is on
It's on Netflix.
Netflix or Binge. Netflix? Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah, I'll check it.
Yeah.
really good.
It's only about
Yeah,
90
I'll
minutes or
watch
so
that.
too, so it fits in your I've got time to watch a quick movie sort of. It's not an all-nighter.
Nice.
Nice.
Awesome.
I thought it was going to be me, Joe Black. I was like, oh no, it's totally different. Yeah.
And Dave Dye is giving us a little bit of trivia.
Hey Dave, the legend of the
31st of October is the anniversary of the charge of the Australian Light Horse Brigade at Beersheba in 1917. That's all that date means to me. Well, it's nice hearing all these stories of when you were a teenager, Dave, but we were talking about how
Sheba.
he's not on the show. He can't give me shit back.
It sounds like a place that like doesn't even exist anymore. I don't even know where it is, but yeah,
Beersheba, yeah.
it's there.
Lee Chalker in the house. Everyone, make sure you check out Tuesday night's episode of Chinwag.
It's gonna be so good.
One
It's
of
gonna
my
be this.
favourite Aussie creators, Paul Bedford, is going to be the guest on the show. Best known for his alternative graphic novel, The List. So check it out. He's done a episode of Chinwag before, and it was absolutely phenomenal. You don't want to miss it. Before we get started, we'd really appreciate it if you like, share, and subscribe, because it helps us grow the channel. And we've gone to FMOX, we've gone to a different streaming platform, a little bit nicer, a few more features than we had over at StreamYard. So your support allows us to do some interesting things and branch out in some interesting ways. So we really appreciate it. So I'm doing the plug for Sis.
Oh, thank you, buddy. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to press that studio button. Don't freak out. I think only person who can see this is Ryan. So yeah.
It splits my screen into two screens that are mirrored to each other. So if you're not prepared for it, it's like you're having a stroke.
Fun.
How about we crack into tonight's reads? Is there anybody who wants to go first? What have you read this week?
I'll go first.
What did you read, Sid? Please. I can't wait. I want to see. Did you read it?
I give up.
While Sis is busy, I'm happy to go, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll start off this week. So this week I read sort of one of my modern favorites, which is Tom Taylor's Batman the Detective. So it's a 6-issue series that Tom Taylor did with Andy Kubert, Sandra Hope, and Brad Anderson on colors. And it's a standalone Batman story. Not quite.
So it's not in his run. This isn't in his standard run that he did. Just to preface. No. Sorry.
This is separate. So sort of Batman is middle-aged, so we're not talking like Dark Knight Returns, but he's sort of significantly older than he's portrayed in most Batman comics, I guess. So maybe instead of being a guy in his mid-30s, he's a guy in his mid to late 40s in this one. And he's sort of beaten down because he's come to that sort of realization with a lot of reflection that I've been protecting the city a long time. I've saved a lot of people, but there's still people dying every day. Have I really made a difference? Because all that seems to have happened is everyone that I have ever loved or cared about has died. So that's sort of his realization of maybe where Batman is to him right now. Alfred has passed away. He's living in Wayne Manor all by himself. And sort of a terrorist attack takes place. This organization called Equilibrium, who dress in sort of all white Batman costumes, destroy a passenger plane, killing everybody on board, and they leave a note for Batman. And it's one of the coolest premises, I think, for motivation. Like, I don't think it's a spoiler to reveal a little bit, because it changes as the story goes on. But Equilibrium, sort of a terrorist organization, has popped up, and they're only killing people that have been previously saved by Batman.
Oh, that's right.
So every killer has like a personal connection, and it ends up leading him to London. So he says goodbye to Gotham, and he goes to London, and he teams up again with Knight and Squire, and they end up leading him to Paris, where he once again sort of seeks a bit of help from Henry Ducard. So Henry Ducard is the master manhunter who basically taught Bruce Wayne in the comics sort of how to be a detective, like how to hunt and find people that don't want to be found.
I know what this is, yeah.
But the Ducard sort of... What's that?
He's in the white suit, yeah? He's
No. This is just a guy that he seeks out for help. But he's from like back in Batman canon. And Liam Neeson's version of Ra's al Ghul is kind of based on him a little bit as well. But like Henry Ducard used all the skills that he had to sort of become a little bit of a criminal, like hunting down and killing people for money, as opposed to Batman, who used his skills to like save people. But as it goes through, you learn more about why Equilibrium was doing this, and then the race to like stop them from doing something cataclysmic. But I really recommend it. Like, Andy Kubert is such a legendary creator, and he's still doing outstanding interior work. So it's kind of a joy to see him get like a full 6-issue solid run on Batman to like really make a mark. And there's so much Kubert in it, like the designs of the characters are all something where you can tell just by looking at them that Andy Kubert has had a huge like buy-in to like how everything specifically looks. And if you grew up reading all those like 90s comics like Silvestri and Jim Lee and Will Spataccio, so like the Image guys, but before Image when they were at Marvel and DC and having their epic runs on characters and whatnot, it kind of takes you back to that. I think Andy's always had a little bit more of a like some manga-ish elements, so I don't think his stylization has necessarily dated as much as like some of the other creators. So it still looks super crisp. Just trying to find a good page.
Yeah, Andy was responsible for the like the first few storylines in Ultimate X-Men way back in the day.
Oh wow!
So the artwork in it is still top shelf. And then Sandra Hope is one of the best comic inkers going around. So you have a Tom Taylor, who I think around this time Tom was like really starting to hit his strides creatively with the big two. So things that came out around this era was his Constantine, Heaven and Hell. He'd finished doing Deceased. He did. We all know Tom's done a bunch of stuff, and he's been getting better and better and better. So you sort of got a Tom Taylor who's, starting to really get into the groove with the big two. Andy Kubert doing still career best work. Sandra Hope, one of the finest inkers going around, and Brad Anderson's colors. Like Brad Anderson had come off doing things like the Watchmen Doomsday Clock series. So, yeah, it's sort of a powerhouse creative team. And it comes in a nice hardcover as well. So the book looks really nice. Feels like it's a bit of care has gone into actually putting it together. So I highly recommend it, especially because you don't have to have read anything before or after. It's a one-shot Batman story in one hardcover. You can read it in one good sitting. Yeah, must have for all Batman fans.
Nice.
I like it.
There's a great, if I remember rightly, there's a great little moment in it where Bruce has, it's basically a mobile Batcave. It's a semi-trailer or something like that that's been turned into, the interior has been turned into a Batcave.
It almost looks like a train carriage, it's so big.
That's the one, yeah. But he had it shipped over. He hadn't really used it before. He developed it years ago. And as he's going through, he finds a note from Alfred that says something along the lines of, I wanted to make it feel more like home. And next to it was a toy dinosaur and an oversized plastic penny.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice
that was, the comic had been ramping up emotionally from the beginning. And then you get to that point. And it's sort of like it opens the world up to you again. Like you go, man, these characters are so great. Like even when they're only appearing in like a note form, when it feels true to the character, it's like, oh yes, they did it.
Yeah,
like even Nightwing gets a one panel cameo near the very tail end of the story, but he looks older, like he's like aged up the same amount that Bruce has aged up from the regular canon. But it's just nice to be like, oh yeah, like this world is it's whole, like it's got the characters that you want, even if they're not present there very often. So it's a really good job. Yeah, recommended. Hit up your local comic book store.
Nice. Cool.
Very
I'll go
nice.
next.
Yeah, go
On the
sis.
big screen. I'll just press this button. Woo, magic. Okay. I did something totally out of character. I
Took a day off.
usually hate digital comics. Well, I missed that.
I said took a day off.
Oh no, I haven't done that. I took a few hours off to read this actually, and I just stumbled across this when I got my trial period of DC Universe, I think it's called. So I don't know if that's going to show up on the screen or not.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolute Power.
Absolute
Is anyone else doing
Power.
that, by the way? No.
I did that
Yeah,
when the first issue came out, but now the whole story is completed. So you've probably got a different take on it.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole story. Yeah, I read all 4 issues, and just this won't be as good as Shannon's.
Yes, it will.
But it's awesome. Basically, Amanda organizes for is it 6 or 5? I forget now how many there were, but Amazo robots. Am I getting the name right?
Amazo, yes.
Yeah, Amazo. Yep. And they pretty much steal, rather than duplicating the powers of heroes, they steal them. So the opening scene, which is my favorite. Oh, it's
Do you mean like D power? So
So
the D
panel by
power.
panel. I can't show you.
The hero?
Sorry.
You mean steal, but they physically depower the hero they stole it from?
Yeah, depower the heroes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So the very first scene is Superman, and there's this weird effect on him that you see, and you don't realize what that is at the time until you see them steal powers off other people. But what that is one of them stealing Superman's powers, and he is shot at just before that moment, and the bullets go straight through him, and then he falls because he can't fly anymore.
Oh, God.
So, and you're like, what the hell's going on? Because you don't know that his powers have just been stolen. All you know is bullets can hurt him, and he's falling, and yeah. So it starts with that, and it goes into then, I don't remember the order, but you end up finding out that Amanda Waller, however you pronounce her name, is pretty much organized this massive undertaking to get rid of all metahumans, pretty much. Or superheroes, I should say. She doesn't seem to have a problem with the criminals. It's just all the superheroes she's trying to take down. And I don't know how to describe this. I had it all in my head before, but now that I'm on the screen here, I'm forgetting everything. So basically, Superman and the remaining heroes who aren't captured all retreat to Superman's what's it called?
Fortress of Solitude.
Fortress of Solitude, thank you. See, I'm forgetting words now. They retreat to there, but they think they're safe there, and they're not. The Brainiac Queen gets in there. One of the Amazos who can go stealth mode now, thanks to stealing Martian Manhunter's powers, get in there, start stealing powers. So they end up needing to... I don't know if I should say what they end up doing, because that sort of spoils, I think, the second or third book. Because I read them all in consecutively, I've forgotten which one's which. Should I say what happened?
No, I don't know how many haters.
Stuff it. I'll say it. They end up having to blow up his Solitude Fortress thing to get away, to escape. And they escape to Theraschema, whatever.
The mystery.
And even then, they're found again, and this time they're found by Superman's son, who has been corrupted by the Brainiac Queen. You find that happens right at the beginning of issue 2. Pretty much just all this shit keeps happening until finally they get their wits about them and make their way back. I won't go into how it ends because that will sort of ruin the story. But I will say one thing: I only read the 4 miniseries, the 1, 2, 3, 4 miniseries. The problem with that was it ties into all these. It's a big crossover. So there was parts of the story they're talking about stuff, and I'm like, what are they talking about? So that was the only unfortunate part of just reading those 4. There were things where I sort of didn't. I just sort of went with it because I've read comics for a long time, and there's a lot of just going with the flow and finding out what the story is all about to it, that I just sort of ignored it and left it. Maybe I missed something earlier. Maybe I didn't read it close enough. But now I realize it's because all the tie-ins and the crossover and the what do you call them, the little mini series that went off it as well, that explains all those little details that I missed. But even though that happened, the 4 issues were still brilliant on their own. It was easy to ignore those little things because they were just little things. They weren't major. Like, you don't see how Superboy, for example, is corrupted. You just see that he is. And apparently that's covered in one of the other issues, which I didn't read. Stuff like that. But, the story's still really good. I really liked it. I was never a DC guy big time, but reading that, I was just like, holy crap. And just not reading anything from mainstream, actually, for that matter. To come back to that was a really blew me away. And then everyone told me that, it hasn't been so good until the end. So I was like, oh, okay. So I just fluked on the time when they did a really good crossover. Okay, cool. Miniseries, whatever you want to call it.
Well, there is. I mean, my opinion, there is one series that DC is doing right now that's been like pretty exceptional all the way through. I can't remember what issue they're up to, but I think they're into potentially the 30s now, and that's Mark Waid's World's Finest.
Yeah.
So that's the Batman Superman book that's kind of got like a little bit of a golden agey sort of flavor to it at times. Like the characters are presented very traditionally, so it's really good. And Dan Mora has done like most of the artwork for it, and that's been super good too. So I recommend that one, Sis. If you enjoyed,
Mark Waid. That's who wrote this.
Yeah. So same writer.
And Dan Mora, I think Mora is the artist.
Yeah.
Oh, so same writer and artist on World's Finest as was on Absolute Power. So if you like that combo, hopefully you'll like World's Finest.
Actually, I remember finding that out, but I forgot it till now. Yes.
I think Moore is like one of the big kind of it guys at the moment for comics. Like everyone's like so good.
It's really nice art, I must admit. I really like the way that the Brainiac Queen, I think it is, Queen is drawn. He does that really well, considering it's such a weird thing. And I'd never heard of that other dude. Oh god, I can't remember names. I'm so bad at this. I should take notes. The Batman creature, whatever he's called.
Oh, Failsafe.
Failsafe, that's it. I'd never heard of him before, so this was a new, interesting character for me.
That was a tie-in to the whole story that they did in the Batman books.
I thought it was like a robot.
He is.
Yeah, he is.
Oh.
He controls all the Amazos in some sort of weird way. Because he reboots them when they start growing
Emotions.
What was the conscience? And he reboots them to get rid of it. I don't know if that's explored more because it's very quick in the story. Maybe it's explored more in the other books. But Amanda saying is a conscious superpower now. Or no, moral something is a superpower now, is it? But yeah, great 4 books. Get it if you can. Read it on digital if you have to. But yeah, I wish I had this in physical. I will probably be looking for the entire series so I can read all the rest. in an omnibus because I've become a bit obsessed with omnibuses lately. So
I was going to
yeah,
say, it probably won't be too long before they put it out in a omnibus, or at
yeah.
least like a deluxe hardcover sort of thing.
They only just finished that storyline recently, so I don't know if it's even out in a collected edition yet. So yeah, there was the main Absolute Power story. There was one exploring Amanda Waller's quote unquote origin, and then there was a series of one-offs about the different Amazo robots, because they're all
Okay.
based on Justice League members. And that's where, you know, it went more into them. Like they didn't just absorb their powers; they absorbed a little bit of their personality as well, which is why they started developing a conscience. Sorry, the little Jiminy
Stop
Crickets.
talking like me. Stop it.
That's all, folks. I don't even know where that came from. Sorry. But yeah, like I enjoyed that crossover as well. And like you said, like Dan Mora is a phenomenal artist. He draws one of the best Supermen I have seen in a very long time. And Mark Wade has just been one of my favorite writers since like he was writing The Flash back in the 90s, for crying out loud. So really good storyline.
Yeah, I think Dan Mora is going to be one of those guys that has like a long-term visual impact. Like I can see in 5 years' time, there'll be like a dozen more artists that draw basically like Dan Mora, like popping up.
I feel like there almost already is. Like, I think he's pretty influential.
Yeah, like he's already had a bit of an enviable career in quite a short period of time. But he's that damn talented that he deserves it. So
yeah, exactly. I don't know if they still do them, but remember, like the comic book companies always used to do comic adaptions of movies when they came out. If they were going to do one of James Gunn's Superman, I think Dan Mora would be the perfect artist to really capture that sort of Silver Age, hopeful, bright and colourful sort of look that they seem to be going with that film.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. And just quickly, Collector Co on Instagram, g'day, and yep, World's Finest is amazing, and Morrow is doing Justice League Unlimited next. There you go.
Oh wow, nice.
And I guess we're up to the next person. Is that right, host?
That is right. We are up to the next person, but Andrew's done a bit of research for us. So
nice.
Absolute Power 1-4 trade paperback due out February 25th.
There we go.
Okay, do some more research, Andrew, and find out when the omnibus is out. Just saying.
They probably
have get to it. Kylie, I'll let you go next so that you're not following someone else who does as badly as me. No one's going to do as badly as me. So
you're fine.
No, I wasn't.
See if I can remember my stuff as well now. So, I've kind of become a little bit obsessed with Reinhard Kleist after the last graphic novel that I read. So I have read Starman from
very nice.
Reinhard as well. So he's done 2 David Bowie graphic novels, and this is the first one of the 2. And I love it so much. It's so good. He's really interesting in this one with Mercy on Me, which was the Nick Cave one that I read previously. It was kind of all very moody, very black and white, heavy ink, that kind of thing. This one, he's got a whole range of different techniques that he uses, which is I find really interesting. And it pretty much starts from Bowie, little Bowie kind of listening to the radio and that sort of thing, and we're sort of starting in black and white with just a tiny little bit of colour in there, sort of as he's sort of starting to get his ideas and that sort of thing. And then there's all of these from the rest of the book. He doesn't use black and white again, as he's starting to express himself and that sort of thing. All of the kind of like day-to-day mundane sort of things are kind of done in different sort of colour washes. So you've got, some of them are sort of brown. You've got some really beautiful sort of heavy blues and that sort of thing, which is really nice. And then you've got, where are we? Sorry, I've got like a million tabs. Like this one here for sort of Space Oddity. Like it's
cool.
I don't know, it's just beautiful. It's sort of understated, but still quite, how can I put it? I don't know, you can sort of tell exactly, that song, that the part of the song that's kind of represented in those panels. He's also used, which I discovered a thing today, I learned some new things, so I'm very excited. This technique, which is found in a lot in sort of like really old school kind of comics, like with, like your old paper and newspaper print and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Band-Aid dots. Really exciting. I like this. It was kind of a way, it was developed apparently in like the 1870s as a way of sort of shading and adding color without using a ton of ink. So I find it really interesting that that technique is still being used now, sort of just so long through. So that's kind of like his intermediate kind of going from color washing, and then we've got the Band-Aid dots kind of starting to fill the color in more. And then he just is just like pure color saturation sort of as you sort of get further and further through. But it pretty much starts, you've got him starting up with, the Spiders of Mars, and then Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane. You've got bits of sort of touches on his work with Iggy Pop when they were doing Raw Power. So Iggy's kind of in there as well. Sorry, I'm having issues trying to find my camera. A little bit of meeting Mark Bolan and T-Rex and Andy Warhol is sort of mentioned in here as well. And then just the fashions that he wore, like everything was kind of represented just beautifully, I love it, absolutely love it. And it sort of touches a lot on his relationship with his brother and the influence musically that his brother had on him, to explore things that were outside the normal and be kind of wanting to be more than just himself, I guess, kind of trying to find a greater part of him that he can sort of share. So he's kind of gone through his alien sort of stages and that sort of thing. And then you kind of end up near the end, he's kind of destroying, Ziggy and Aladdin Sane sort of characters and starting out his Thin White Duke sort of era. And that sort of kicks off the next book. I kind of got to the end and was like, oh, this is great. Oh, great. Now I have to get the next one to find out what happened. So there is another one coming. I will have to get it at some point. But it's just got some of the most beautiful artwork in it. The last few pages are kind of a gallery of different times in his creative career, I suppose. So you've got these really beautiful sort of pictures, and then the last picture is just haunting. I absolutely love it. And that's the last one, sort of as it's kind of very Space Oddity, but almost kind of a nod to Black Star and sort of his future stuff. So I'm really looking forward to getting the next one. I kind of polished it off really, really quickly. So yeah, I love his work. It's so good. It's really interesting, and Reinhard sort of seems to do something different with each of his artists. Kind of, I don't know. He sort of Bowie's a very sort of colourful personality, so I think if he had have just done it in black and white, like he did sort of Nick Cave, or I think the Johnny Cash ones in black and white as well, it wouldn't have sort of shown the essence of him sort of fully. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend. It's like an 11 out of 10. It's great.
Who publishes it?
Reinhardt publishes it himself. Self-Made Hero. I got this copy from Oh, I cannot remember the name of it. I feel bad. There's a massive Japanese bookshop in the galleries in Sydney, near Town Hall Station. They've
Oh,
got a
Yeah.
huge, that's it, huge section of manga and graphic novels and that sort of thing. And they've got a ton of his stuff in there. Absolute ton of it.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think you can order direct off Reinhardt's website as well.
oh, cool.
That's really cool. It's like so visually interesting. Like, I love it when coloring is less naturalistic and more like emotional based. So things are
Yeah.
they're trying to get you to feel what they want you to feel in the story using color theory rather than just being like, oh, these people are standing in the street, so I'm going to color everything exactly like it would be if you were standing in the street.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then the progression from, the sort of, this is him going about day to day talking to record execs and all the rest of it, and then it's like now he's on stage or now he's performing in front of people, and it's just like color. Yeah, I like it. I like the contrast between it as well.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Highly recommend. Go get it. Anyone who likes music stuff, go get it.
Definitely. Well, thanks, Kylie. Because
That's cool.
unless someone else has got questions.
I just think the only unfortunate one about this one is that there's no panels of Kylie Minogue getting hit in the head with a rock.
Right? Absolutely. Well, maybe the next one. Who knows?
Maybe the next one.
Something
yeah.
to look forward to.
Is it presented actually in any particular way, or is it just presented as like a straight up sort of biography style book?
It's a little bit more biographical than, it's all unauthorized, I should say that. But the Mercy on Me book is very much fiction and fantasy, song lyrics, and a bit of biography, sort of all mixed into one, and it becomes a little bit intertwining. And I think a lot of that sort of Nick tended to get very intertwined with his characters and that sort of thing. So I think that's why he did it with that one. This one is a little bit more, this is, child kind of his progression through where he's getting his musical influences and that sort of thing, meeting Angie and sort of carrying on that way. So there's not as much.
Uh-oh.
Kylie Breeze. There she is.
Wasn't sure if it was me or you, Kylie.
I think we're still a little bit frozen.
No. Someone's trying to steal her Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, you're right. Your signal's really weak.
Seems like a great book.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. I love
yeah.
those books.
See, Kylie, a million times better than me.
You say that.
Oh no, it's true. Trust me, it's true. I didn't even remember half the name of my characters.
Superman?
Super who?
Super doggy?
Super male? What?
Superman?
We got
Guys
two,
with the powers and abilities of a mid-sized car.
we've got 2 reviews to go. Who wants
And
to
we're
go
gonna
next?
pick on the guy who picked on me.
Narrow it down.
That? Me? I didn't click on it. I was like, I thought
That could have gone either way. It really could have.
It really could have.
I feel like there's been like too much one-sided like DC propaganda tonight, so I went with Moon Knight. So this run is Warren Ellis and then an artist called Declan Shalvey. So I read this quite a few years ago before the show came out. I was like the early adopter of Moon Knight. I like to think I was like, yeah, Moon Knight was cool. Nobody knew him. I was on the ground level. Still 20 years after he was made. But we won't talk about that. But I was like, no one knows who he is. He was cool. Now everyone knows who he is. But I still like to be like, I was there. when no one knew who it was. But this is an interesting book because I remember when it kind of shows progression of me, because I read it at the time and I was like, this is cool. The stories I remember being like good, but I didn't like the artist. And now future me is like, I read this specifically because I really like this artist now, and I was like, this is like the best book. What the hell? And it's interesting to just reflect like on that bit of a journey where you like you look at things a little bit different as you kind of go on. But this book, it's 6 issues, and I reread it today. I was like, what am I going to read? I need something different. And I was like, I'll just read one. And I finished the first one, and I'll just read another. And it was that good, I just read them all in a run. Something that was so entertaining. Like, Moon Knight is kind of like, I feel like most people know he is, but I kind of think it was like an inverted Batman, where he's obviously white in his suit because he wants the bad guys to see him coming, because he's just kind of antagonistic, and there's no holds barred, so he can happily kill people if he wants to. So he doesn't fit in with the Avengers or anything like that. He really doesn't fit in with the show. That I think they took the superficial kind of elements of him. I wasn't a big fan of the show. A lot of other people were, so I'll give them that. But I just think he's kind of a little bit too crazy to like fully adapt it, unless it's like a really kind of brutal show that's like rated R.
This particular trade, it covers the Mr. Knight character, isn't it? Like it's
it's focused on him. There's a couple times where they kind of view the suits as like his egos. Like he's Mr. Knight the whole time, but yeah, he changes in the different issues. He does change a little bit between the suits for the specializations, but mainly it's focused on Mr. Knight. So this is where I'm not sure if he was the first one to come up with the Mr. Knight suit, or how much that existed beforehand. Because I knew him. God, I'm trying to get a good.
There you go.
There we go. Because when I first saw him, it was like the David Finch, the super crazy looking suit, which I don't think is probably not a good example here for a while, because I didn't plan it out. But it does focus on him. So I like the suit, and they specifically did it in this book, where it's kind of like in Red Sonja, where the only red that's on a page will be Red Sonja's hair. He's white. He's the only white thing on the page. So his whole suit is white, and they don't put any grey tones, any shading or anything on it. He's literally like stark white on a fully coloured page on everything. So I thought that was kind of an interesting take on it. The setup is pretty much, it's not really, it has a little bit of a disclaimer on his background, like, he's Khonshu, he's like the disciple of a god, so he's imbued with these powers, but he's also kind of crazy. He has split personalities, so that's what makes him kind of unique, and you never really know like what is real with him, and I think that's an interesting aspect. Like personally, I don't care, because it's the best storytelling format, because you don't have to worry about reality. And then I haven't read tons of Warren Ellis, but this guy, from what I have read, is like super crazy and knows way too much stuff about stuff that is just crazy, and then puts it into his writing. And if you read it like mushrooms and how psychedelics and stuff would affect you, and I reckon he reads it and goes, yeah, I'm putting that into the story, and then boom, and he's up in Moon Knight. And I thought it was going to be like most comics now I expect it to be like an ongoing, like there'd be a 5 connected, like a big long story. No, this is pretty much individual stories, but number 1 and number 6 connect. But in between them, it's pretty much a unique story. Like, you can't say too much without like, they're very short, but like very effective. You kind of don't want it to be over, but there's one, it's kind of funny, there's like ghosts in New York City attacking people, and he's like, oh, I gotta go protect them, and he tries to punch out the ghosts, and it just goes straight through the ghosts, and he goes all home defeated, and he's talking to himself, his 3 kind of collective consciousnesses, and then he's like, how do I beat a ghost? Like, how do I beat something I can't even fight? And then Khonshu is like, well, you've collected different pieces of armor, how do you beat something that's dead? with something that's dead. So he like goes rummaging into his little storage and he pulls out like all these kind of bone armor pieces and then goes back, and then because comics, he can smash out the ghosts. And I was like, yeah,
I'm stealing that.
that was pretty cool. Like, it's kind of interesting stories like that where you're just like, okay, I never would have saw that coming, but it was pretty funny. And then you read the next issue, and there'll be someone like sitting on the train with a newspaper, and it will have the headline like "Ghosts in New York City," like attacking people. So there's kind of like little references in there. It is very brutal in what he does to people. So it's a little bit gory. Like he actually kills people, and he has no qualms about it. So it's not like Batman. He's like, I'm going to punch you, but you're still technically going to be alive. You might be in hospital for the rest of your life, but you're still alive. So there's no issues like that. If he thinks someone has to die to make the world a better place, to be safer, they're dead. And I'm sure it can change on who the writer is, but the way that Warren Ellis writes them, these people aren't coming back. I do like the humor as well. Like the final issue, there's a girl that's been kidnapped, and it's in a big story building, and the way it's done, there's basically no story. It's like, girl's kidnapped, she's in the top story of the building, he interrogates the guy, and he's like, how many guys is there? 20? And he's like, okay, logically, I should go in from the roof, and I can save the girl easiest that way. And instantly, next panel, he's like sitting down on the ground floor looking up at all the things, and he's like holding 2 bats. And he's like, all right, let's go. And it's pretty much like the Daredevil like one-shot fight scenes, where it's like the hallway fight scene, and he just goes like up level by level, just like trashing these dudes in whatever way he can. Like there's a guy like running down the stair. Like the funny stuff is like how he actually defeats them. Like there's a guy running down the stairs, and he's got his little moon batarangs, and he just chucks it at his foot, and it goes and it locks in his foot, and he just falls down and just wrecks himself on the stairs. He's like, yeah, sorry. So it's really interesting how the artist on this thinks about the art. Like he really fully leans into like the comic. Like how can I show this on a page in an interesting way? Like there's a part where he climbs down sewers and he shows 3 different layers as if the camera's like looking at him, and you kind of see like 3 different layers, what should be an impossible shot, but he's just climbing down, and it's kind of like an isometric kind of view. But it's all on one page. It's just an interesting way to show it that's like wouldn't be realistic at all, but it encapsulates like art and simplifies storytelling on a page. Like he doesn't try to do anything too fancy. Like he's focused on the narrative, but how to make it interesting as a comic. So I don't know if I can give it like an 11 out of 10. I think that's it's pretty high. Like I would give it like an 8. 8's like really high.
8 is solid.
Yeah, the artwork's like really, really good. I like how it's rendered, because I've lent so much into like more like dirtier, grittier sort of stylized art. Like that's what I find interesting, at least right now. Like that's what I think is interesting about the artwork. It's not like super clean, like probably like Kubert or Dan Mora with that stuff where it's like really well done lines, perfect faces and stuff like that. It's definitely more. He's putting everything on the page. It is a bit gritty. There's a bit of ink splash everywhere. But what I find is it enables you to get immersed in it a little bit more, because you don't have that uncanny valley sort of thing going on. It's like, oh, that's realistic. And nah, I don't care. That person just got lobbed, their face lobbed. That's alright. That's funny. So, yeah, I loved it. I don't know if Ellis, I don't know how long he stays on the run. If he does the other issues, I might continue reading it. I've got a couple different Moon Knights here, but that's my favourite. The other ones I have read are pretty crazy as well, so, but different artists. I like these guys as a combo together, but I do like Moon Knight as a whole. So
you're right about Warren Ellis being crazy.
Okay.
Warren Ellis did a series called Transmetropolitan with
I
Garrett Robertson.
haven't read it yet.
And
it looks
some
crazy.
Of those wild interior artwork you will ever come across.
Who's the artist on it?
Derek Robertson.
Okay, right.
That's a phenomenal
Yeah,
series.
I've seen the
Yeah.
covers and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I think it's just too much for me, but I can't say that until I read it, you know. But,
Oh, it's just concept after concept after concept thrown at you, but it's amazing. It's really, really well done.
Some of the
Actually,
best comic book world building that's ever been done in a series, because there's not a single detail that either Warren or Derek haven't thought about and then put into the world. So, sort of,
yeah, I definitely think like he is crazy. Like I read a bit. He's got another comic called like something Gods, and that comic is next level crazy with what he does in it. So I think he's kind of one of those things. He just shoots for the moon with a story, and he's like, the artist must be sitting there going, "Oh man, like, how am I going to draw this?" Like, there's literal like towering mushrooms in this. Like, I reckon if someone wrote that on a page to me, like, going into crazy mushroom dream psychedelic land, I'll be like, oh, no, like building, no, I can't. Like mushrooms the size of buildings, like nightmare.
but that's
Like,
why
yeah, he does it.
that's why Declan Shelby's so good.
Yeah, no, he is great, and it yeah, like I say, it's funny that when I originally read it, I didn't like it as much. I thought, oh, this guy's a bit simple, like, and now I'm like, nah, this guy's crazy. He's simplifying it because it's the best way to show it, you know, for him. So, but it's interesting because it's like I end up fighting myself in the past, you know, like, well, I thought it was like this. And it's like, no, you're just an idiot. It's like, okay, cool.
Warren Ellis had a newsletter. He had a website. I think it was back in the 90s. I think we're going back that far. Where like you signed up at his website and he just would send you like his newsletter. And the newsletter was basically having a drunk uncle who just would like email you his latest rant about stuff. Like you start reading it, it's just like Warren, do we need to call someone? Are you okay, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you
I
just
feel
go
like
off on a tangent or have a rant or just like talk about some of this random shit. But then like you get one newsletter and it's like 7 pages long and you're trying to read it all and it just goes deep into all this esoteric nonsense. And then you'd get another newsletter that's 2 sentences saying that he had a sandwich and it made him sick, so he doesn't really feel like doing it. You know? But yeah, it was kind of epic. Like Warren Ellis, like that's a guy like you'd love to read his books. I don't think you'd ever want to sit in a pub and have a beer with a guy.
I don't even want to meet him.
I think he'd wind up laughing.
I'm happy only knowing the the manufactured story version of it, not where he actually got the idea from, because that would be far too scary. So, but yeah, no,
You'd end up finding out that you were now like. You'd leave the meeting and then you'd get a letter saying that you are now financially responsible for like a rundown houseboat or something, and you won't understand how or why that's happened.
Or where the houseboat is.
Yeah. But it's in your
mushrooms.
name. You must have signed something at the Warren Ellis
But I
meeting.
own it now. Don't look under the floorboards. That's the only note he puts there as well. So. No, thanks. But no, I loved it. I didn't expect to. I was like, yeah, it's one of those things I'm like, I need something different. I only read it because I'm going through Declan stuff at the moment, and I was like, dude, it's better than I thought it would be. So you don't get that feeling a lot either. So
that's always a good surprise too.
Yeah, for sure. As you get more and more jaded as you get older, ugh, what is this? What is this?
It kind of says a lot when like you're actively expecting everything to be crap. So you're just like you're
no,
really
because I'm at that stage where I reread stuff that I thought was awesome, and I'm like, oh, this is not awesome. I don't know what you were thinking, previous Nathan, but yeah, it's one of those things like your taste changes. Like I always feel it's like a journey, and I try to be less dismissive of stuff because I know I'll come back in like 5 years and be like, oh, yeah, I should have read this a while ago.
Nice.
You got around to it. That's what this show's all about. This show's about whittling away that to-read pile.
Yeah.
And if you're like most of us here, it doesn't happen.
Oh, hey Mark, how you saying? Whoa, chat's lit up. Thanks, guys. Everyone loves Moon Knight, see, it's the best. Deep dive on Moon Knight. Alright, it's going to happen.
I think I've read some Sienkiewicz Moon Knight, and I've read some
Well, I gotta read that.
Moon Knight.
Yeah.
But
They
I haven't read
reference
like, a
that.
full run of anything.
Don't read the Stephen Platt run. Don't. Just look at it. If you probably don't even know who Stephen Platt is. Looks. No. Doesn't even. Ignore everything I just said now. And I'm sorry about Stephen Platt. Don't come after me. He's good. I like him. Okay, next review before I talk myself into a hole.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing with us. Shannon,
Oh, it's me now.
what's been in front of the eyeballs this week?
Well, first of all, I just want to reiterate the fact that I really have no desire to see Kylie Minogue hit in the head with a rock. I actually quite like Kylie Minogue. I mean, like that's kind of my hall pass sort of thing. Like she comes along, Ashley's out the door. But like, yeah, no, not just sitting around in my room, just like polishing my axe and waiting for Kylie Minogue to get Okay.
If anything happens right now, if any news comes out, we'd just like to know that Shannon is here with us live. There you go.
Yeah, the chances that I will ever get in a situation close enough to Kylie Minogue to do anything to her is like none. I have a better chance of flying to the moon by lighting a fart, so we won't actually do too deep dive of that. I think it's kind of ironic that Nathan was complaining about all the DC stuff that we had because, haha, screw you, Nathan, more DC.
Okay, screw you. I love Green Arrow, so actually. What Green Arrow is it, by the way?
This, very specific Green Arrow story. This is Quiver, which was written by Kevin Smith. And it's the one that actually resurrected Oliver Queen after being dead for the majority of the 90s. Now, I have a little bit of a complicated relationship with Kevin Smith. I think anybody who's around the same age as me, I hope your back's not hurting, but
it is.
like I was a year younger than the characters in his Clerks film. I saw Clerks. Somebody had handed me a VHS copy of that when I was 23 or 22 or something like that, and I watched it and pretty much instantly became a Kevin Smith fan. And of course, like during the 90s, maybe a little bit in the 2000s, but definitely during the 90s, Kevin Smith was sort of the ideal that guys like me held up. Like he was a filmmaker. He made like these independent films about guys talking about movies and Star Wars and that sort of thing. He put all these comic book references into his films. He was a fan as well, so you would like hear him talking about it in his what are they called? He did his live speeches to people and live DVDs and that sort of thing. And whenever he was talking in interviews and stuff like that, like this was a fan that got through the glass door and he got into the industry, and it was all by his own force of will as well. So as a kid, like, as a 20-something-year-old guy who like loved comics and loved movies and wanted to be a filmmaker and wanted to draw comics and that sort of thing, Kevin Smith was the guy that you sort of held up pretty much on a pedestal. These days, I won't go in it too much, but I feel like Kevin Smith is a man who is both his talent and his laziness are in like extreme and like very equal parts. But his laziness has been far outreaching his talent recently. And I get into arguments, people. It's just like, oh, he can make whatever he wants. He's like an adult. He lives his life the way he wants. Yeah, sure. Like, absolutely. But what I always go back to when I'm talking about like the kind of thing that he used to be able to produce, I go to Quiver. Because this was a fantastic 12-issue run that, as I said, like it brought back Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen was killed in a plane explosion or something like that, if I remember rightly. And then for the 90s, his illegitimate son, Connor Hawke, had become Green Arrow for the longest time. So I think this came out early 2000s, give or take. But the story he chose to tell, it wasn't just like, oh, we're going to just pull him out of time, or we're just going to, like, you know, do some magic Constantine bubble thing, and, oh, look, here's Green Arrow. He's exactly the way he was before. On with everything, and we'll pretend that nothing really ever happened. He was just here the whole time. Not at all. Like, the way they bring him back was, it was during the Darkest Night crossover where Hal Jordan was still Parallax and a bad guy, and he was sacrificing. He had all this power, and he was sacrificing himself to save the world. But before he did, Superman still had a little bit of Oliver's DNA on one of his suits that Parallax sort of like found and lifted, and used that as a catalyst to, through time and through his energy, to recreate Oliver Queen.
Oh, wow.
But he couldn't get Oliver's soul. So, first of all, so this version of Oliver Queen was a much earlier version of Oliver Queen. I think there was a famous storyline where Oliver killed someone for the first time. I think it was like him and Black Canary. I've got it somewhere. I can't remember what the name of the story was. But they got a version of Green Arrow, of Oliver Queen, before he killed someone, so before he was tainted by his past. And sorry, I was distracted by one of the comments. So Andrew Law is just asking if it was a Monica Lewinsky situation with the DNA. No. But so Green Arrow, not only is he like, he doesn't know where the world is up to, he's like reacting to that sort of thing, but as it turns out, because he is what is known as a husk, or a soulless body, there's all these entities and demons and stuff like that who are trying to get their hands on him so they can have a physical body on the earthly plane and go on and do all their mischief and stuff, that sort of thing. And like, yeah, there are cameos. There's cameos from Batman. There's cameos from Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan was the Spectre at the time as well. There's a cameo from Superman, and it leads to finally, I think this version of Oliver somehow communes with his own soul, which is in the afterlife, and convinces the soul to re-enter the body, and they become Oliver Queen again. Like it is a complicated story, but it all works, and it works really, really well. And yeah, and it's like, and so you, like, I know we're trying to be positive on the show, but this is why I get so angry with some of Kevin Smith's work nowadays, because he phones it in so badly. You know, he's so afraid of doing the wrong thing or being criticized or something like that he doesn't really try. But even when he's not trying, he does some incredible stuff. Like, it's in a minute in between all the dick and fart jokes, but it's there.
I think it depends on the character with Kevin Smith, because I agree that he did a great job with Green Arrow, but then personally, I wasn't a fan of either The Widening Gyre or Cacophony, like his two Batman books. Yeah. I thought they were quite poor.
I 100% agree with that. Like, he did those 3 Batman books, and they're some of the worst Batman stories you'll ever read. Like, they're horrible, sort of thing. And that was more in his, like, I've given up trying sort of thing. Now I'm a stoner and I'm just doing what's funny and that sort of thing. Like, he did Green Arrow at the same time as he did that Daredevil run for Marvel, which was the one where Mysterio killed himself. Mysterio was the villain, the behind-the-scenes villain of that storyline. And once again, like, that that storyline, these are two characters that up to that point I'd never given a shit about. I never really cared about Green Arrow. Sorry, Nathan, and I'd never really cared about Daredevil up to that point as well. And
Daredevil. Oh, get out, hater.
But
any boots on the ground character that you do like? No.
Boots on the ground character?
Yeah.
But maybe that's
like
because they were the underdog characters, is why Kevin Smith was able to write them the way that he did, as opposed to the big tentpole characters.
Yeah. I'm sure there are, mate. I couldn't list them at the time. At the time, I was a massive DC fan as well.
I think you only like characters that can fly. I think it's you.
Oh, I like Batman. I like Plastic Man. He can't fly.
He flies.
I like Blue Beetle. I like Booster Gold.
Flies. I'll wait. I'm gonna wait. Keep going, please. Superman.
You know what? It's like I like what I like. You like what I like. You know what? I think Moon Knight sucks. I'm kidding. I don't care about Moon Knight at all.
That's okay.
You care so little you don't even have an opinion.
I think the costume in the TV show was great. But back to what I was talking about. This is just a sign of what Kevin Smith can do when he puts his heart and his soul into stuff. You know, when he takes a chance and takes a risk and uses that incredible talent of his, and he does have an incredible talent for like characters and for dialogue and for distilling emotion down into phrases and conversations and stuff like that, into descriptions that are so relatable but it's so easy to understand. Like Green Arrow, really Quiver. That was it specifically, Quiver. It's a really good story. It's an older story, but it's a really good story. It's really well written. Never read Kevin Smith's Batman stories because they're terrible. And check out Moon Knight because apparently it's pretty good.
So you can't save yourself now. No.
Let's be fair though. There's been over the 85 years, there's been some legendary creators that have had some quite terrible runs on Batman over the journey as well. So these things happen.
Everybody can have an off day. Everybody can have an off story. Sometimes there are creators that just like do not mesh with particular characters. Sometimes there are like creators that like have a vision for a character that just doesn't find its audience or anything like that. As I said, like I have a complicated relationship with Kevin Smith now. And this is one of those things that I hold up when I'm speaking about like his work now versus his work earlier. I am totally like agreeable to the fact that I can be 100% wrong to other people. Ask Nathan. But
I feel like this is more of a review on Kevin Smith than the book. So,
like I said,
what rating are we going to give Kevin Smith in this?
It's a good book. Like I really do like this storyline. That's why I bought the graphic novel back in the day when it first came out. But that was my lead into this story is like Kevin Smith was the creator on it. And I was having a big discussion with a friend of mine who in the same boat with Kevin Smith. And we were talking about Clerks 3 just recently, sort of thing. So that's kind of what had it in my mind.
I realised that I either missed it or forgot to ask. Who was the artist on the book?
The artist was Phil Hester and I think Andy Parks, who have this fantastic style to their. Andy was the inker, Phil Hester was the penciler. I'm just trying to find. There we go. So there's a double-page spread. The way they used to draw, like with their blacks and their sharp angles and stuff like that. I really loved their artwork, especially when they were combined with each other. I thought it was fantastic.
Very cool.
Like Phil Hester worked on a few books around that period of time. He was getting quite a bit of work. I unfortunately cannot bring another one to mind. I do remember him working on other projects though. I don't know if Andy Parks was his inker for all of that. I get the feeling Phil Hester was one of those people that, because of his art style, you needed a very specific inker to work with him. And if you had an inker that didn't really understand his style or didn't get it, then all of a sudden his artwork looked terrible, which is unfair.
Oh.
Oh yeah, and all the covers were painted by Matt Wagner, who created, if I remember rightly, Mage, I think, which was a retelling of King Arthur in modern times. That was another book from the 90s that was kind of huge at the time. I don't really hear a lot about anymore.
He also did Grendel, which was huge.
Matt Wagner did Grendel? Is that what I'm thinking about? I apologize.
I think it's Grendel that he was renowned for.
Now let me just see if I can get you both on the same screen. You can fight it out. Hang on, I don't know.
Fuck.
Yeah,
remember the first ball is nobody talks about ComX.
The fight's after the show.
Yeah, Grendel. He started independently publishing, doing it in 1982.
Yeah.
So, well,
I apologize. Who did Mage then? I'm going to have to look that up. Yeah, Grendel.
Well, maybe he did Mage as well.
Mm.
Mm.
I mean, he's been around for
ever.
Oh, there you go.
He did both.
He did
both.
He did both. Well, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew.
You're going off tonight, Andrew.
Andrew, turn the AI off, mate. All right. I know you're sitting there.
There we go. Now there's all of us.
Dream team.
I feel like that was a good lot of books tonight. Like, there was something to connect with, like, a pretty wide amount of people, I think. Whether they're fans of, like, a specific era of comics, whether they're fans of stuff that's, like, maybe less traditional, such as the Starman book, one-shots, crossovers, events, sort of a little bit of everything tonight.
And a really crappy review by Sis.
I remember when I first got back into reading comics, like, on a monthly basis, and I'd sort of been disconnected by so many of the concepts that had, like, become popular in comics, like events and whatnot. And the first big crossover event that I encountered was Fear Itself with Marvel, where more weapons of the Titans land on Earth. So some of these supervillains become essentially equals to, like, Thor and Odin and the other Norse gods. Like Juggernaut becomes like a Titan. So that goes really crazy. I mean, nowadays it's not looked back as being like a great event. Like, a lot of people think it was pretty terrible. I liked it at the time. I haven't read it since. But events were, like, the coolest thing I could have possibly imagined, like, when I first got back into reading comics. Now they do 15 events a year, so it can get really tiresome. But encountering it for the first time, it was like, what do you mean this story goes across, like, all these books? That was, like, the coolest thing I'd ever heard.
Until you looked in your wallet afterwards.
Until
I realised how many books a month all of a sudden I was buying. Yeah.
I remember when DC did the 0 Hour, which is another one of their Crisis on Infinite Earths things. I still have every single 0 issue of every book they did. It's a good thing I was still living at home at that point, because it's the only way I could have afforded it, but they're still all packed away somewhere.
Nice.
I had all the 1 millions, but I sold them. Story to them.
I don't have a single event all collected.
Oh, sorry. The 1 millions? Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got them as well.
Those, but I sold them away as well. So
I really should start selling my stuff. Maybe I'd have more money.
I had lots of money, went manic, and spend it on stupid things.
Yeah, but don't forget, like that was back in the day where like you get 2 comics and a can of drink for $5.
Well, that's true.
It was easier to go, yeah, I'm going to buy all 40-something issues that you publish in this 1 month.
Even now, though, like, people shouldn't underestimate, like, even just picking up 1 or 2 books, or when you want to buy a trade or something like that. If you've got a local comic book store, walking in there and picking it off the shelf, because it really does go a long way to supporting Australian businesses. And we're such a hard market when it comes to having vibrant, active, engaged, long-running comic book stores, and there seems to be less and less of them every year now. So we're very much in favour of go in, say hello, introduce yourself, join the community, buy your books local if you can.
If you can, yeah.
So that sort of brings us to the end of the reviews. So I guess we'll go around now and we'll just quickly, if someone's got something that they want to plug, they want to talk about briefly, or maybe they're working on a comic, they've got something in the pipeline, this is your chance to go around and let the people know. Sis, do you have anything for us tonight?
Probably the main thing is tomorrow night we have. I was going to say for draw. Tomorrow night we've got Chinwag. Tuesday Chinwag with Lee Chalker is back. He is talking or chatting or chinwagging, whatever you want to say, with Paul Bradford. God, I hope I got that name right.
Paul Bedford.
Bedford. Oh, I keep doing that. Sorry, dude. Sorry, Paul. And yeah, so that'll be a very interesting chat, a very long one, I'm guessing as well. So, and that's the last for the year. So it's your last Chinwag for the year. So
Going out in the bank this year.
Yeah.
Be a big one, I think.
So that's the main thing. Oh, and drink and draw this week is droids, Star Wars droids. Any from any source, book, comic, movie,
that is a very, very cool
movie,
topic.
The things they call movies, whatever.
It's already given me an idea, and I'm just going to run with it.
Awesome.
Kylie, do you have anything that you want to talk about tonight?
No, not really. Not really. Watch this space, essentially.
Watch this space?
Plans in the works, but yeah, it'll be a little bit before it's finalized.
That's okay. These things got to simmer. They're going to take as long as they take.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, you got anything for us tonight?
Oh, no, not a goddamn thing, unfortunately.
No, that's okay. You're too tuckered out from trick-or-treating with the kiddies.
Well, I painted one of the walls in my house over the last couple of days, which was exhausting, but it looks fantastic. Few little glitches that I didn't realize, like problems you would have from painting a wall that I did, but it's now got what my girlfriend calls personality, and I refer to as mistakes. So I did that, and I'm working on a third draft of my Chicken Man screenplay at the moment. I'm trying to cut 25 pages out of it so I can enter it into festivals.
Very cool.
That's not going to happen anytime soon.
You'll have to keep us updated anyway. As to what's
I will. Yeah, I'm still very proud of that screenplay. It took me, excuse me, yeah, it took me like 23 years to write, so I was thrilled I got to the end of it, and I've sent it out to a bunch of people to read and got a lot of very positive feedback, which is great. Awesome. But yeah, now I kind of want to get it out into industry people and see what they think. But yeah, I've got to write a much tighter version of it, and I don't know how to do that just yet. But we'll see how we go.
Excellent. Nathan, we know you've been busy. You've been sort of deep in the issue 2 trenches.
Deep in the issue 2. Yeah. So I'm doing the last of the inks on issue 2 of 3 Hollow. I know a lot of the guys here have probably read it already. It just hit over 6,000 views like last week or so. So it's a pretty cool milestone just that people have taken interest and read it. The issue 2 probably going to be doing a Kickstarter for. Once it's all finalised, we're getting a lot more details out. But I'm pretty stoked with how it's looking, and where the story is actually going with it. So I think a lot of people are going to be surprised. It is a very grounded story. It's definitely character focused, and issue 2 is going to explore those characters a lot more than the first one. So I'm keen for you guys to look at it and read it. But I'll post a link for issue 1. You guys can check it out.
Do you have an approximate date in mind when you're hoping to get it all wrapped up?
I don't know. I have to talk to Sis. So I don't want to say anything and promise it. I don't know what the back end stuff's going to look like, so I don't want to say anything yet. So
everyone will just have to watch the space.
I know when I'm going to have it done, but I don't know when everything else is going to go through. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, if people follow the ComX socials, they'll be able to keep up to date with everything that's going on. If you look at Nathan's screen name there, it's at Nadius Art. That is his Instagram handle as well. So you can jump on there and follow the progress. Does it feel good? Does it feel exciting to be getting issue 2 down?
Yeah, it feels good. Like I'm more excited about the story than anything else. Like I'm excited what I've done like with the characters, and how different it's going to be from issue 1. And yeah, like I can see the progress in it and how it's looking. So yeah, I am excited. Yeah, I think more so once I got the covers and stuff. Once I can see that, I'll be stoked. But yeah, it's definitely coming together, and I'm on that home stretch, so that feels good. Because it's just a lot of work to even get to this point. So you feel like, ooh, yeah, that's good.
And I was watching the stream the other night, and I can assure everyone there are still abs. There's still topless men.
There's still some naked dudes. Well, one naked dude. At least one naked dude. I'll promise. Every issue, naked guy. Okay.
Yeah, but it's done in a Where's Wally kind of style. So you have to actually like look around and see if you can find the naked guy.
Nah, man. Taking up the whole page, right? You're going to be right in
Progressively
there,
more
right?
full frontal
2-page
leading
spread.
up to the final issue.
It's kind of like it's Game of Thrones season 1. We're just going all in, everything.
Yeah, just as long as you don't decide to make it a pop-up book, we're good.
That could be the Kickstarter like reward.
This should give me ideas.
Yeah, it's nice. That's a good one. Holographic, where it's like. Yeah.
I suppose I'm going to just talk a little bit about something that's happening this week in Brisbane, which is Supernova Expo, for those watching who may or may not know. So Supernova is happening in Brisbane again. I believe it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for show number 100 in their calendar of shows. So if you're a comics fan, Roy Thomas is going to be there. A whole range of Australian creators are going to be there as well, from your indie through to your professional. And for the first time in Brisbane as well, if you're a comics collector, you'll be able to submit your books to CGC on site through Grail Hunters Australia. So for the first time, we're offering, Grail Hunters is offering CGC's signature series books at an Australian show. So head to Grail Hunters, ask Neville all the questions about what you need to do, and they will be happy to look after you. But it's pretty cool. It's sort of bringing us in line with some of the other major cons that happen overseas now, where they've got the representation of those sort of companies. The first one that they did was Sydney this year with Art Germ, and it was hugely successful. So I imagine with Roy Thomas and his incredible library of work that Brisbane is going to be even bigger again. So head along and enjoy the weekend.
Sounds great.
And like always, like, share, subscribe, help us grow the channel. But most importantly, we appreciate you watching. So we hope that you'll join us again next week.
Thanks, guys.
And it's the part where we awkwardly wave for ages because we don't know when it's going to actually cut out. So let's give it a go. Good night, everyone. Woo!
Oh.
And
Right, Johnny.
slow